Welcome to The Explainer. You know, in politics, a career can be built over decades and come crashing down in just a matter of days. Today, we're diving into the story of Rahul Mamkootathil, a key figure in Kerala's Congress Party who seemed to have it all.
I mean, this guy was a young, dynamic legislator, really seen as a fresh face for a new generation. By all accounts, he was on the fast track to the very top.
But then, in August of 2025, that entire future was just thrown into chaos. It happened so fast, a sudden, rapid-fire series of really serious public allegations that just seemed to erupt one after another.
Okay, so to really get a handle on how this all went down, we're going to break it into 5 parts. We'll look at his rise, then the allegations themselves, the immediate fallout, the big questions around proof and motive, and finally, where this whole controversy stands right now. So first things first, to understand the kind of shockwaves these allegations sent through Kerala politics, you really have to get just how bright this guy's star was shining. So who exactly is Rahul Mamkootathil?
Well, this wasn't just some random politician. We're talking about someone with the perfect resume for a future leader. He was a sharp, well-known face on TV debates, he was the head of the super-influential Youth Congress, and he had just won a tough by-election. Plus, he was seen as the protege of a major party leader, which basically put him right at the center of the party's next generation.
And then, that promising career just hit a brick wall, and I mean hard. It all started with just one public post, but that single spark ignited a massive firestorm as a whole chorus of allegations from different women just exploded into public view.
So the first domino to fall was when actor and former journalist Rini Ann George went public. She described this really unpleasant experience with a young politician, saying he sent her obscene messages and even invited her to a hotel room. Now, she didn't use his name, but the details she gave, it led everyone to speculate she was talking about Mamkootathil. And almost immediately after that, writer Honey Bhaskaran came forward with her own story. She claimed that after they had a conversation on social media, he completely misrepresented it to his friends, basically twisting it to make it sound like she was the one chasing him. She called him out on it and even dared him to sue her for defamation if he thought she was lying.
But then the story took an even darker turn. An audio clip was released, and it went viral almost instantly. In that clip, you can hear a voice that sounds an awful lot like Mamkootathil in this tense conversation, apparently trying to convince a woman to get an abortion by asking, "Won't the public call the child a bastard?"
And then, the allegations got even more severe. A trans woman, identified as Avanthika, made a truly shocking claim. She said that in a conversation, he had expressed a desire to sexually assault her and even suggested places where they could go to do it.
And the accusations started to cross from personal into political. Word got out that a formal complaint had been filed with the Congress Party's top leadership. It was from the daughter of a former MP, and she alleged that Mamkootathil had promised to marry her but then backed out, supposedly because his family wouldn't approve of her caste.
You know, a public firestorm of this size, with news stories coming out seemingly every hour, it doesn't just stay on social media. It forces people to act, and the professional and political fallout here was, well, it was as swift as it was brutal.
I mean, just look at how incredibly fast his world collapsed. It's staggering. On August 20th, the very first allegation comes out. Less than 48 hours later, after more women spoke up and that audio clip went everywhere, he'd already resigned from his powerful Youth Congress job and was even being disinvited from public events.
And this wasn't just a trial by media. This number 9 is really important. It reportedly represents the number of formal complaints filed directly with the party's national leadership. That's what took this from a public scandal to a full-blown internal crisis.
The whole thing just triggered a political meltdown. Rival youth groups hit the streets, demanding he resign from the legislature entirely. Then reports started trickling out that some senior leaders in his own party might have known about some of these issues before they went public. The pressure cooker was on, and sources started saying that the National Party leadership basically gave him an ultimatum. You either resign from the Youth Congress presidency now, or we will remove you.
But, as you know, in politics, there's always a counter-narrative. As the scandal just totally consumed the headlines, his supporters and other skeptics started asking some very pointed questions about the timing, about the evidence, and about whether there was something else going on behind the scenes.
For his supporters, the way all these allegations dropped at once just seemed a little too convenient. It led them to the central question that would define the other side of this story. Was this a pattern of horrible behavior, or was this a coordinated political hit job?
And that's how you get 2 completely competing stories. On one side, you have the critics, who see a clear, disturbing pattern of behavior coming from multiple, independent sources. But on the other side, you have supporters who see a political conspiracy. They point to the suspicious timing right before major elections, what they see as a lack of hard proof, like screenshots for some claims, and they basically suggest it was all a targeted campaign to destroy a political rival.
So what did Mamkootathil himself have to say? Well, he's maintained his innocence. In his public statement, he called the first accuser a close friend and even suggested her post wasn't actually about him. Then he pivoted, framing the whole thing as a politically motivated attack by the media, timed perfectly to distract from the scandals facing his party's biggest opponents.
And all of that brings us to where this story is today, in this state of deep uncertainty. Careers are hanging in the balance, and the public is left with this really polarizing controversy that is a long way from being over.
So let's recap. While he took a huge professional hit by resigning his party post, the final outcome is still totally up in the air. He's still a legislator, even though people are still calling for him to resign completely. For his party, this is a nightmare to navigate. And maybe the most important point of all, despite this absolute storm of public accusations, as of right now, no formal police charges have actually been filed.
And this whole affair really leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. In our world of disappearing chats, viral audio clips, and accusations that play out in real time for everyone to see on social media, how do we, as a society, figure out the incredibly complicated path to finding both truth and justice?